So let's talk Copilot Cowork, right? Microsoft made this announcement not that long ago. It's generally available. The reason we're talking about this, or the reason that most of you that follow me should care about this, is the simple fact that Copilot Cowork is consumption-based. It's that simple. In fact, it's actually a little bit even more problematic because it's actually hybrid, right? So in order to get Copilot Cowork, which essentially is, think of Anthropic, Claude, Cowork, right? But think about it as it's specific to the Microsoft 365 tenant only, right? So Claude kind of touches everything. Cowork, Copilot Cowork is sitting in that Microsoft tenant. Microsoft has put claims out there that it's 30 to 40% cheaper than going the Claude route with the connector, Microsoft 365 connector. I'm not going to comment on that. That's for all of you customers to pressure test that, have them show where that's coming from, dive deep. You know my spiel on that. But yeah, let's go back to consumption-based hybrid modeling, right? This continues to be a theme. I talk about this all the time across all the various vendors, whether it's Microsoft, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Anthropic, others, right? AI, you have to think consumption-based pricing or hybrid. And as I've said, hybrid becomes even more problematic because in this instance, you still have to have the Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription, which is per user per month. List price, $30 per user per month. Remember, that is an add-on, essentially, to your underlying Microsoft 365 productivity suite pick of your choice, E5, E3, so forth and so on. So you have to think about Bob's subscription for Microsoft 365 E5, Copilot on top of that. And then if Bob is gonna use, or Brenda is gonna use Copilot Cowork, there's now a meter. There's now a consumption-based component. Right? You're going to have Copilot credits, right? So you can either pay as you go, which is about a penny per Copilot credit use, or you can do the P3, which is essentially committing to an upfront volume. And there's different volume tiers, which comes with a particular discount that's afforded you based upon what you think you can forecast your needs and wants are going to be. Now, as I've talked about, how well are you going to be able to forecast? What happens if your forecast is inaccurate? So in other words, you commit to this certain level of volume to get this usually not as good of a discount as you should be getting. And what happens if you don't draw down it? What happens if you actually blow through that commitment volume, right? Should you already, I know there's volume tiers with discounting that's out there, but shouldn't you be getting more like non-standard? So think about it. You should be getting a better underlying Microsoft 365 Copilot price. Talked about this a lot, $30 per user per month is ridiculous. You should be thinking about, if you're a customer, Microsoft 365 Foundational, E5, Copilot, if you've already had those, what value you've been getting, look at things granular, give those reports to Microsoft. I'm already overspending on things. You want me to now be a consumption-based to use Copilot Cowork, which you need me to use, you want me to use. Well, you got to right size, correct the pricing for those foundational pieces, whether it's at renewal or in term, meaning when you have a point to negotiate, definitely at renewal, and especially customers that didn't get renewal protections in place, because I hate to warn you, your level pricing is gone. You likely don't have price protections, and list price has gone up on E5 and E3. Right? So you're gonna have a massive uplift on your foundational and your Copilot, and now the consumption wheel tied to Cowork, if you're gonna be using it, is gonna go through the roof. So you gotta negotiate all that holistically. But a Cowork, it becomes problematic. Now, in fairness, it's turned as a default off. So you have to turn it on for it to start spinning. Right? So you can also then put caps and limits in place. So that's all very common. So that's good. But again, you have to understand how the credits get tallied, when a credit gets drawn down on. So think about, you got to challenge them around the tasks, light, medium, heavy. You got to think about how that, because those the drive, right? That drives the credit usage, the amount of usage, just like the other inputs that are involved, model use, context, tool, runtime. You got to understand all those pieces. Definitions, how it works for you. Have Microsoft show you examples to allow you to do forecasting, right? All common things. the foundational how it works, how it's going to work for you, and then go back to the things I was just talking about, negotiating the pricing on the foundational, E3, E5, on Copilot, and then the discounting you should be getting relative to, especially if you're doing upfront commitments around those credits, credit packs, right? Volumes, right? So as you commit to more, you should be getting better discounting, and don't accept standard ever. List price is standard. Penny is standard. These discounting that you're going to see in the different tiers for P3 commitments, those are standard. You are not standard. And remind Microsoft about that. Think about standard in terms of, I'm also an Azure customer. Are you a LinkedIn customer? What have you been doing for them? Are there other new products that are of interest? Are there other Copilots that are of interest? GitHub Copilot as a perfect example. You have to pull all this together as part of your negotiation. And even if you don't have the ability because of business pressures or you're already in it, foundationally, you need to push Microsoft now to get ahead of that consumption flywheel, to make sure you're set up so that downstream cost doesn't get out of control, especially when you may be in a place where you don't have leverage at that time.